I'm Pastor David Lai, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to engage in a Dorje Shugden retreat. But before we continue, I think we want to know what a retreat is. Basically, a retreat is a period or a place of seclusion for the purpose of prayer and meditation. And in this case, it is to get closer to Dorje Shugden, our protector. But what are we retreating from? In general, we are retreating from our worldly life of pleasures, attachments, and distractions. What exactly is that? That's TV time, kids, clubbing, sports, internet, movies, parties, shopping, beer, boyfriends, girlfriends, and the things boyfriends and girlfriends, husbands and wives do, so on and so on. But actually, why do we need to do that? The retreat is actually for us to basically retreat from these mundane aspects of our lives in order to develop a spiritual relationship with Dorje Shugden. And in the process, we purify quite a lot of heavy negative karma and increase our spiritual merits to clear obstacles in order to further our spiritual path and goals. So in general, we can perform retreats annually so that we can ensure a fruitful year with fewer problems and obstacles, or whenever we encounter a crisis or a problem of any sort. It could be financial, it could be relationship, it could be business, career, anything that we have a problem with, and we can engage in a Dorje Shugden retreat so that we can purify our negative karma. And so in the process, the problems will be diminished, and we develop merits eventually to find a solution. We can also engage in retreats to develop merits that will help in big projects we are currently engaging, especially those that benefit others. Traditionally, a retreat is done with our body, our speech, and our mind. This means that we need to put in not just there physically, we're doing a retreat, it's also we have to put our mind, our effort, and there are certain restrictions we have to do, which I'll explain later. Retreats in the past, just for your information, were done mostly as closed retreats, meaning total seclusion from everyone and from the world. This is done in a cave or a retreat hut in the past. But due to time and circumstances, shorter open retreats are more popular these days. In general, for all practitioners of Dorje Shugden, they should aim to complete a 100,000 recitation of Dorje Shugden's mantra retreat. Now that we know what a retreat is, we'll go into the other information about engaging in the retreats. First of all, we want to know about the retreat place and the sessions. A conducive retreat environment is one that is basically secluded and where there are fewer or no distractions at all. This would be somewhere probably away from the city, preferably in the countryside. Ideally, it should be in a place where, during the retreat breaks, you can, when you look out of your retreat hut or room or building, you can see a landscape of green trees, hills, lakes, and rivers. This will help your mind to be at ease during and after hours of recitation and meditation. Because during retreat, what happens is you will be focusing on a mantra, focusing on the deity and the visualization. So what happens is your mind will become a little tight. So during the break, it is nice when there's a good green view that will help your meditation, that will help you ease into the meditation easier. And besides that, your retreat area, the place where you're going to retreat, the room should be clean, clear, and conducive for a retreat. There should be a place for an altar or a shrine to Dorje Shugden in this case, with all the necessary offerings that I'll explain. Traditionally, a retreat is broken up into sessions, and there is certain times of the day where it is not done, which is 6 a.m. hour and the 6 p.m. hour, and also from the 12 a.m. hour and also the 12 p.m. hour. Traditionally, the retreat sessions are usually from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., which is the first session, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., the second session, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., the third session, and finally the last session of the day, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. However, a modern practitioner like you can do as many or as few sessions as necessary, but with a minimum of 1 session per day. If you are engaging the retreat in a group, you must do the same sessions together and also the same number of sessions per day. Next thing I would like to talk about would be the retreat seating. The retreat seat can be a thin cushion on the floor or it can be on a chair, depending on whether you are able to sit for long hours with your legs folded or not. Generally, for a practitioner doing a retreat, you can sit on a chair with your legs down, or you can sit on a floor on a cushion with folded legs in full lotus position, half lotus, or just as in a position that's comfortable for you, but preferably in the half lotus or full lotus. And then your back must be straight, your head a little tilted forward. If your eyes looking downwards, you're not looking in the horizon, but you're looking at your text because you'll be doing a lot of recitation. And even if you're not doing the recitation, if you're reciting a mantra from memory, you do not look around the room and looking distracted or getting distracted by the items in the room. Under your cushion, you can place a picture of an image of the swastika. Now, the swastika represents indestructibility or the Buddha's final meditation seat under the Bodhi tree, which is called Vajrasana. So that symbol represents the Buddha's place of enlightenment, where he sat in meditation under the Bodhi tree in India to become fully enlightened. So it has that auspicious connotation. By the way, swastika is a Sanskrit word that is derived from svasti, which means well-being or good fortune. So on top of the swastika, you have to place 2 stalks of kusha grass, one longer, one shorter. One to be placed on top of the swastika, which is vertically facing outwards, that's the longer one. And then the shorter stalk should be placed perpendicular to the longer stalk to form a cross. The cushion or chair should be placed above the kusha grass and swastika. In accordance to strict retreat practices, people should not walk over your meditational seat or cushion, and the meditational seat or cushion should not be moved around. It should be placed there for the duration of the retreat. And the next thing I would like to explain would be the retreat altar, the shrine that you'll be devoting yourself during a retreat. Of course, on the altar, you will need the object of refuge would be Dorje Shugden. And it could be a statue, like in this case. It could be a tanka, a picture, an image, or a line drawing. Or it could even be his mandala, which is the 3-storied mandala of Dorje Shugden with all his entourages. On top of Dorje Shugden, you can definitely have an image or picture of your guru or the lineage gurus, depending on the availability. And you can also have images of Lama Tsongkhapa, Vajrayogini, or your personal idam. Next thing I would like to explain to you would be about the Toma offerings. There are 9 Tomas to be offered to Dorje Shugden in a retreat, and Toma offerings are a practice of generosity. And they are traditionally offered to, in this case, Dorje Shugden and his entourage. And the Tomas are basically traditionally made of barley flour, butter, yogurt, sugar, and honey. And they are shaped in a conical form to represent tantric meditation and hence tantric achievements. So when you offer to Dorje Shugden, you are basically requesting for spiritual attainments. However, today it is not possible for most people because it's not easy to make the Toma shapes and for each individual deity and etc. So therefore, for most modern practitioners, what they do is you can offer biscuits as a replacement for Tomas, and this is how you do it. The biscuits are offered into a jar, and the jar must be able to be sealed to avoid insect infestation. And then you put the whole jar with the biscuits into another bowl. And in the bowl itself, with the jar, you offer more biscuits. And the biscuits that are outside of the jar can be replaced during each session. The biscuits in a jar, you do not replace until the end of your retreat. I repeat, the biscuits in a jar, you do not change until the end of the retreat. Only the biscuits outside of the jar that is in the bowl that you replace during each session. You can stick the teardrop and round flowers on the outside to represent the Toma of adornments, which represents tantric meditation. The size of the tomas are generally big or small. So there's two sizes. There's a big toma and there's a small toma. The big toma is offered to the main deity, like Dorje Shugden in this case, or Lama Tsongkhapa, and then the smaller toma is offered to the entourage. So as I said earlier, there are 9 tomas to be offered. 3 of them are large tomas, and they are offered to Lama Tsongkhapa, Vajrayogini, and Dorje Shugden. And then there are 6 smaller tomas that are offered to the 3 deities, the entourages of the 3 deities, Tsongkhapa's entourage, Vajrayogini's entourage, and Dorje Shugden's entourage. And then the remaining 3 is to the landowner, the Dakas and Dakinis, and finally a farewell toma. Vajrayogini and entourage tomas are only to be offered by those with higher tantric empowerments, and can be also offered to any higher tantric idams that you are practicing as well. Okay, next I'm going to explain about the landowner toma. The landowner toma is unique because it's only done on the first session of the retreat, and it is not offered on subsequent sessions. Landowner toma does not have meat, does not have alcohol. It is made of biscuits and buns. You do not have to place it inside a jar. It is just placed on a platter. After the landowner prayer has been recited, an incense stick is lit if it is in the evening or at night. If it's the daytime, you do not need to light the incense, but the incense stick is still needed. And it is placed into the toma, and then at the end of the prayer, it is to be taken outside of the room, preferably to the surrounding area of the building or of the retreat hut. And when you place, it is preferably placed on a higher elevated place beyond the reach of dogs. The incense stick is to be left in the landowner toma. The next one will be the farewell toma. The farewell toma is another unique one. It is placed on a platter, not in a jar. This time it should have a little bit of meat and alcohol and a stick of incense. The farewell toma is to be brought out with the incense after every session of your retreat. And I repeat again, the incense is only to be lit if it's in the evening or at night. If it's the daytime, you do not need to light the incense. And then you bring it out just the same way, and you place on an elevated place as well, just the same. Next one is the sensory and commitment offerings that you offer to Dorje Shugden in your retreat. During the course of the retreat, we make sensory offerings and commitment offerings. The sensory offerings are offerings meant to please the senses and also represent the body, speech, and mind. They are meant to welcome Lama Tsongkhapa, Vajrayogini, and Dorje Shugden and their entourages, and are offered both in peaceful and wrathful forms. The wrathful sensory offerings and commitment offerings are particularly important during the visualization of a particular part of the retreat text, which is called the Kawang, where we enact the powerful purification for the practitioner. If one is offering traditionally made tomas, the peaceful food sensory offering is usually a white toma, and the wrathful food sensory offering is a toma that's painted red. Other offerings would be the 8 auspicious signs, the 7 royal emblems, the stupa, the Dharma text, flowers, fruits, circum, mandala offering, candles, or any forms of light offerings. It could be electric candles as well. And also you can light incense, of course, in a retreat place. And also more important would be, I think, to offer juniper incense outside. A lot of juniper incense in Thanksgiving, in welcoming Dorje Shugden to your retreat place. Also, one could place photographs or names of your loved ones in a sealed envelope, and which you can place on the altar or under the statue of Dorje Shugden to seek his blessings and to seek his protection for these people. The next thing I would like to talk about would be the retreat etiquette. During retreat, you can take, of course, toilet breaks, but of course, after doing so, after relieving yourself, you wash your hands, rinse your mouth, and then you can resume your retreat session. During retreat, talking is discouraged during breaks. And in accordance with strict retreat etiquette, you must turn back 7 beads or 7 mantras if you cough or if you burp, even if it's involuntarily. However, one must restart the whole session if you fall asleep. So please keep awake. You are allowed to have a drink by your side, and preferably don't eat during your retreat. But if you need to keep awake, you can have a soft drink or coffee by your side to keep yourself awake. The mantra recitation should be less during the initial sessions of the retreat, and you gradually increase as you progress and you reach a plateau, and then as you reach the tail end of your retreat, you taper off. And this curve represents the amount of mantras that you recite. And this is to ease you into the retreat with less obstacles and with less problems with your what they call wind, which is when you do a lot of mantras, what happens is you will be moving your psychic channels, your psychic winds in your body. So a lot of mantra recitations will make your emotions go up and down. That is not a problem. That is just you easing into the retreat. So when you do it with a bell curve in mind, with the amount of mantras, that will help you with this problem. Now I'm going to talk to you or explain to you about the actual prayers you'll be doing during the retreat. And before I go into the prayers, let me show you what we need during a retreat. First of all, being in front of the altar, you will need a mala, of course, of any make, and you need your vajra and bell, and you will be needing a bowl of rice. The rice would be for you to blow onto after your mantra recitation, so you consecrate the rice with your mantras, with the energy of your retreat. So that rice could be used for protection, it could be used to consecrate your altar, or for any other reason necessary. Now we'll be going into the retreat prayers. And for any Buddhist prayers or pujas or retreat texts, we start with taking refuge, and that is Namo Guru Be, which is I take refuge in the Guru. That is, you supplicate on your crown of your head. Namo Buddhaya, your forehead, you supplicate. Namo Dhammaya, your mouth, your speech. Namo Sanghaya, your heart. You repeat this 3 times. Next, you'll be reciting a small prayer, which is a prayer of bodhicitta. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. This is to be repeated 3 times. Okay, the next prayer is actually to be done only on the first session of your retreat. This is going to be the offering prayer to the landowners. I'll be doing the prayer, and you can recite only on the first session. Om Benza, Amrita, Kundali, Hana Hana Hum Pet, Om Sabawa, Shuddha Sawa Dhamma, Shabawa Shuddho Hum. All becomes empty. From within emptiness, from Drung comes a broad, vast jeweled vessel, inside of which, from Om melting into light, there arises a toma of a great ocean of undefiled nectar wisdom. Oma Ahom, Oma Ahom, Oma Ahom. Nama Sawa Tadagata Aulukite Om Sambara Sambara Hum. Nama Sawa Tadagata Aulukite Om Sambara Sambara Hum. Nama Sawa Tadagata Aulukite Om Sambara Sambara Hum. You snap your fingers each time you recite this, because this is invoking upon Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, because all landowners, deities, nagas respect Chenrezig or Kuan Yin or Avalokiteshvara very much. So you take refuge in Avalokiteshvara when you make offerings to the landowners. I prostrate to the Bhagavan, the Tathagata, many-jeweled one, Shakyamuni. I prostrate to the Tathagata, supreme beautiful form, Avalokiteshvara. I prostrate to the Tathagata, infinite bodied one, Manjushri. At each time you say I prostrate, you fold your hands. Okay? I prostrate to the Tathagata, free from all fear, Vajrapani. This Toma, an ocean of nectar, endowed with the 5 perfect sensual objects, Alpha to Tema, goddess of the earth, and all the landowners of the 3,000 worlds, to the 5 sister goddesses of long life, and all the protectors of stability who reside in Tibet, and especially to the Devas, Nagas, and landowners dwelling in this very region. Having accepted, I request you to gather as we wish all harmonious conditions for whatever actions we and the sponsors perform, without showing anger or jealousy, by the power of my thoughts, by the power of the blessings of the Tathagatas, and by the power of the sphere of reality. May any purpose we desire, or whatever, be realized without obstruction. This is the end of the landowner Toma prayer. This is where you or your assistant will take up the Toma, the landowner Toma, along with a stick of incense, and if it's the evening, you light the incense and you stick it into the Toma and you bring it out. Preferably outside of the building itself, on an elevated place where its dogs and other animals cannot reach. And then you come back in, and if you are by yourself, you continue your prayer. The next prayer that we'll be reciting would be the 4 immeasurables, and this is the 4-line prayer where we invoke upon compassion, because this is very necessary for this retreat, because this is what we trying to invoke, because we are trying to invoke the compassion of Dorje Shugden, and also to invoke upon our own compassion to develop that. And here it goes. May all sanctioned beings have happiness and its causes. May all sanctioned beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sanctioned beings never be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sanctioned beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. And finally, we purify the retreat place with a stick of incense lit. This is a time where incense must be lit, and we recite the mantra Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom 3 times. And this is to purify your retreat area. And the reason for purification of the area of a retreat is because we are ordinary beings and we have ordinary intentions. And so the area that we are is imbued with our ordinary view and intentions. So when we invite Dorje Shugden, we will want the place to be purified of the negative karma associated with that intention. Hence, we purify the environment. Even the offerings must be purified with incense. Next will be Jetsongkapa's Guru Yoga, and we will be doing this according to tradition, and there are many stanzas, and this is where the Vajra and bell is necessary. So you pick up your Vajra and your bell. The head faces upwards, so the string marks the head. So when you lift up for invocation mudra, this is the mudra of invocation, it's always pointed upwards. In this case, this stanza will be invoking Lama Tsongkhapa to descend from Tushita or Ganden heaven. So you lift up throughout the whole stanza recitation. Okay? From the heart of the Lord of the Ganden Devas, Maitreya Buddha, emerges a brilliant white cloud like a great mass of fresh yogurt. Atop sits Tsongkhapa, all-knowing King of Dharma. We request your coming to this place along with your great disciples. At the last, at your great disciples, you ring your bell with the mudra of with your Vajra mudra, the invocation mudra still upwards. And then you finish off your ringing, and then you go to your next stanza. My Lord Guru is seated before me upon a lion throne, lotus and moon cushion. His body is white and he smiles blissfully. Please remain many aeons and serve as a great merit field for the growth of mind's faith and for the increase of Lord Buddha's teachings. Next stanza, his omniscient wisdom mind encompasses all that is existent. His voice is a profound teaching which ornaments the ear of the fortunate pupil. His body's beautiful radiance evokes wondrous admiration. To Lama Tsongkhapa, who merely viewing, hearing, or contemplating earns one great merit, I make prostration. I present to you great merit few, Tsongkhapa, beautiful offerings, water, a display of flowers, fragrant incense, butter lamps, perfumes, and more, both physical and mental offerings, vast as the clouds and wide as the ocean. This is where you ring the bell as well, this stanza. At the end of that stanza, the making offering stanza, you ring your bell and you finish up and you continue on your next stanza. The unwholesome actions of body, speech, and mind, which have accumulated over a measureless period, especially actions contrary to the three vows, Vinaya, Bodhisattva, Vajrayana, I regret extremely from the depths of my heart, and I reveal each and every such action. We totally rejoice in your magnificent achievements, my Lord, who received numerous teachings and performed the practices of utmost diligence, who abandoned the 8 worldly objectives and made the most meaningful use of the 18 opportune conditions during these degenerate times. All you holy gurus, unerring conduct, may you precipitate a rain of realization and of bodhicitta and shunyata from the clouds of all-knowing compassion which fills the Dhammakaya sky, providing for the few of the disciples precisely what is needed. May the Vajra body of Tsongkhapa, created from the purely clear light, free of the rising and setting of cyclic existence, but visible to the ordinary viewer only in its unsubtle physical form, stay on unchanging, without waiting until samsara ends. May this merit, accumulated by myself and others, beneficially serve all sanctioned beings and the Buddha Dharma, and especially may the essential teachings of the unerring Master, Tsongkhapa, become clear and enduring. Next, you do a mandala offering. You put down your Vajra bell. Your mandala offering is preferably done with your mala. Or if you have a mandala set, you can have it filled with rice and held up, if you know how to do the actual mandala offering. But generally, the mudra is like this. The middle finger sticks out like the Mount Meru, and the 4 continents with 4 sets of intertwining fingers. I will do the recitation now. Om Benza ground Ahum, mighty golden ground. Om Benza fence Ahum, the iron fence around the edge. In the center is Mount Meru, the king of mountains. In the east, the continent Lupakpo. The south, the continent Zambuling. In the west, the continent Balangcho. In the north, the continent Draminian. In the east are the subcontinents Lu and Lupak. In the south, Ngayap and Ngayap Chen. In the west, Yodan and Lamchotro. In the north, Draminian and Dramin Gida. In the east, the treasure mountain. In the south, the wish-granting tree. In the west, the wish-granting cow. In the north, the uncultivated crops. Here are the precious wheel, the precious jewel, the precious queen, the precious minister, the precious elephant, the precious horse, the precious general, and the great treasure vase. Here are the goddess of beauty, the goddess of garlands, the goddess of song, the goddess of dance, the goddess of flowers, the goddess of incense, the goddess of light, and the goddess of perfume. Here are the sun, the moon, the precious parasol, the banner of victory in all directions, and in the center are the most perfect riches of gods and humans, with nothing missing, pure and delightful. To my glorious, holy, and most kind root guru, the lineage gurus, and particularly to the great Lama Tsongkhapa, Buddha, who is the king of sages, Vajradhara, and the entire assembly of deities, offer these as a Buddha field. Please accept them with compassion for the sake of migrating beings. Having accepted them, please bestow on me and on Mother sanctioned beings abiding as far as the limits of space your inspiration of loving compassion. Next, you'll be reciting the dissolution mantra of your mandala. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Nirayatayami. So when you do that, you actually release your fingers and you invert inwards because you're actually requesting for merits. What happens is during your recitation of your mandala, you would think of the things that you are attached, the things that you like, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your house, your car, your job, all the beautiful things you have, the clothes that you wear, and everything beautiful in this world, placed on the mandala and offered up to your guru, the 3 jewels, to Dorje Shugden. When you do that, you cut attachment. Also, that is on one type of offering. You can also offer your delusions, your anger, your frustration, your obstacles, your everything negative that you have in you, you can offer. People are saying, why do you offer such negative things to the Buddha, to Dorje Shugden? Actually, for the Buddhas and Dorje Shugden, you can offer anything. Just like the Buddha, when he became enlightened, when the Maras, the demons, showered him with weapons, with arrows and spears, it turned into lotuses. Likewise, for the Buddha, what happens is your negativity is transformed. Likewise, when you do that, when you make the offering, the mandala offering during a retreat, you'll be transforming your negativity into positive. The next thing you'll be doing would be the Mixima mantra of Lama Tsongkhapa. Okay, this is how it sounds like. One mantra, one beat. Make me to way to chen chen re ze, dream me kempe wangpo jampe yang, dupong malu jomse sangwe da, gangchen gebe zuken zongkapa, losang trape shapla, so wa that. You can recite this 21 times or 108, but I recommend 21 times and focus more on Dorje Shugden's mantra. Next would be the dissolution of Lama Tsongkhapa into you. This is done according to tradition of Guru Yoga. Dear Woody Root Guru, please ascend the lotus seat atop of the head of myself and the other beings, and in your great kindness, please remain with us. Bestow upon us the blessings of your body, speech, and mind. Precious noble Root Guru, please occupy the lotus seat within our hearts, and in your great kindness, remain with us. Please grant us your blessings for our temporal success and for the supreme attainment. Beloved noble Root Guru, please occupy the lotus seat within our hearts, and your great kindness remain with us. Please stay on until we achieve the great goal of enlightenment. The dissolution of Lama Tsongkhapa is like this. Lama Tsongkhapa is invoked into the image or your visualization in front of you, and during the recitation of the 3 stanzas, what happens is you visualize Lama Tsongkhapa reduced the size of your thumb, and with the first stanza, he floats to the top of your crown of your head, and he turns to face in the same direction as you. And the subsequent stanzas, he dissolves into your central channel and finally into your heart. And your heart, he rests upon a lotus, an 8-petaled lotus. And when you finish the dissolution stanza, or the third one, the final one, the lotus closes, leaving a tail, a stream of clouds that links you to Garden Heaven. The purpose of this dissolution is to link you to Maitreya, because in Tushita or Garden Heaven, Maitreya sits, and Lama Tsongkhapa is actually in the court of Maitreya in Garden Heaven, and this creates the cause for you to take rebirth in Maitreya after your death, or it creates the causes for you to receive Dharma when Maitreya do take rebirth as the next Buddha. The next section would be the praise, the 8-line praise to Vajrayogini. Vajrayogini is extremely beneficial, especially in our time, because Kapche Pabunka Rinpoche has advocated this practice. We will not be doing this practice, but if you have the tantric initiation, you can do the sadhana at this point. But for everyone else, you can do the 8-line praise to Vajrayogini. Okay, you need your Vajra and bell for this. Om Namo Bhagavate Benzawarahibam Hong Hong Pet. Each line, there's only 8 lines for Vajrayogini's praise, 8-line praise. So at the last 3 syllables, Hong Hong Pet, you ring your bell once for each syllable. Hong, Hong, Pet. Okay? So let me show you. Om Namo Bhagavate Benzawarahibam Hong Hong Pet. Om Namo Arya Aparazite Talokya Mati Bidye Shuri Hong Hong Pet. Om Nama Sawa Buddha Baya Bahe Maha Benza Hong Hong Pet. Om Namo Benza Sani Aziti Aparazite Visham Karanita Hong Hong Pet. Om Namo Barmani Shokani Rokani Gote Karalani Hong Hong Pet. Om Namo Tasani Marani Babadani Parazai Hong Hong Pet. Om Namo Binzaya Tsambani Tambani Mohani Hom Hom Pet. Om Namo Benzawari Mahayogini Kameshwari Kange. Hom Hom Pet. And then at the recitation of the last line of the 8th line praise to Vajrayogini, you ring your bell, because this is an offering to Vajrayogini, the offering of sound. This is done according to tradition. The next part, where you will be invoking Dorje Shugden, inviting him to come into either your visualization, but preferably if you have an image or tanka or statue, into that image, tanka or statue. The visualization is done with recitation of the description of Dorje Shugden's mandala. The mandala is 3 stories, and there's a lot of rich description of its qualities, of its meaning, and of its appearance. Okay, and the main deity, Dorje Shugden, resides on the ground floor together with the 5 families of Dorje Shugden, and altogether, the rest of the emanations, the entourage, which is the 8 guiding monks, the 9 mothers, and the 10 Yufo and Rafu assistants, all 32 deities, each of them are emanations of Dorje Shugden, will be on the ground floor. On the first floor would be, the floor above Dorje Shugden would be Satrap, the Dharma protector, which is an older brother to Dorje Shugden. He resides on the first floor, and above that, on the topmost floor, would be the Buddha Amitabha. This would be the general description of the mandala of Dorje Shugden, and you'll be reading in detail the descriptions of each element of this mandala. At the end of the description, there will be a mantra, Benza Samaya Za Za, and this is where you're actually invoking the wisdom being, or rather the actual deity of Dorje Shugden, and along with entourage and all the deities within the mandala, to descend into the image before you. So this is done by playing the bell rhythmically in staccato. What that means is that you ring 1 ring at a time. So if you're familiar with the bell, you can do that, or if you're not, just ring in each line of the praise, or rather the prayer, ding once. I'll show you. Hum. Though you never move from the peaceful sphere of the Dharmakaya, please arise in infinite dance of various emanations and display whatever forms are appropriate to protect the precious and equal doctrine of the Buddha. You are a manifestation of Manjushri's Vajra mind. Please arise in the form of Dozin, the king of the Dharma, and come with your retinue of countless emanations to protect the essence of Jetsongkhapa's tradition. At this stanza, it says ring bell, or rather at this lines, it says ring bell, so you ring, because this is an offering to Dorje Shugden, and also a reminder for him to uphold Jetsongkhapa's tradition. And at the end, there will be a mantra of combining the wisdom being and the commitment being. The wisdom being is the actual deity, the actual Dorje Shugden, to descend into the image or descend into your visualization. And the mantra goes like this: Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Pensa Kula Sapayora Akakaya Za Za Hom Bam Ho. This is the mudra. I'll show you again, don't worry. Za is, you take the index finger of your right hand and place it in the last finger of your left hand. This is the Za. Hom, you lift it away, and then you take the index finger of your left hand and place it on the last finger of your right hand. And then Bam, the syllable Bam, is when you lift both hands away and you place both fingers of both index fingers and both last fingers of both hands together in this manner. And then Ho is when you lift them away and you cross your arms, which is your right arm over your left. That's the mudra of combining both the wisdom beings and the commitment beings. The reason for this is because we have various different types of karmas, and we have a very ordinary view of things. And our karma with the Buddhas, and in this case, Dorje Shugden, is you need to overcome our ordinary view of things, and also overcome our karma, because we have negative karma that prevents us from receiving the blessings of Dorje Shugden even. So this is a mantra that overcomes that karma. The next session will be the outer offerings, and that will be the offering of the sensory offerings. And each stanza corresponds to each of the sensory offerings. Okay, the first one will be this. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begon Rudra Bensa Kula Sapariwara Agam Patizai Soha. You can do just the mudra of that sensory offering, or you can do it first together with Dakini, which is Dakini mudra, which is you snap your fingers with your hands, your right hand over your left, you snap to call forth the Dakinis to bring the offering to the deity, in this case Dorje Shugden. You call upon the Dakinis and you sway your fingers and your hands in a circular motion like this, continuously during the recitation. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begoan Rudra Bensa Kula Sapariwara Agam Patizai Soha. At the end of the recitation of that mantra, you cross your hands again, your right over your left in the opposite direction as before, and you snap your fingers. This is to request the Dakinis to make the offering and leave. I'll do the next. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begoan Rudra Bensa Kula Sapariwara Padyam Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begoan Rudra Bensa Kula Sapariwara Pyupe Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begoan Rudra Bensa Kula Sapariwara Dyupe Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Began Rudra Benza Kula Sapar Aloke Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Began Rudra Benza Kula Sapar Gende Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Began Rudra Benza Kula Sapar Nawide Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapariwara Shabda Patizai Soha. Shabda is a ringing of the bell because it's an offering of sound. Okay, the next one will be the offering of the 5 objects of desire. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapariwara Ruwa Patizai Soha. Ruwa is this mudra, which is your hands holding the vajra and your bell with the left and the right like this. This is representing the mirror. So this is the base of the mirror, and this is the actual mirror, and is to be flashed around. Is to represent form or appearance. And the next one would be Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapara Shabda, which is the same as the previous, which is the ringing of bell. Patizai Soha. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapara Gende Patizai Soha. Same as before. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapara Rasa Patizai Soha. Rasa is the same as Nawide, the mudra, which is this. It is your hands flat like a platter with your index finger this way. Next one will be Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapare Pasha Patizai Soha. This is the mudra, which is your fingers like that, and you part it. What this is actually representing a ring, pulling a silk scarf through the ring. This represents feeling or tactile feeling. The sensory offerings are done according to tradition, and they represent the traditional offerings done in the past in ancient India when a guru or an important person coming. So I will repeat Agam. This is the water to refresh the face and to drink. Padyam, this is your feet, to wash the feet, and you sprinkle water over the feet. And then pupae, which is flowers, you scatter flowers. In ancient India, they don't offer bouquets of flowers. They offer little buds of flowers and offer it to the guru or the important person. And then dupe, which is incense, and this is the fingers moving in represent the wafting of incense smoke. Aloke is light, which is the middle finger represent the wick of a butter lamp or a candle, offering of light. And then Gende, which is the offering of perfume. In ancient India, perfume is not like in modern times where it's sprayed on. In ancient times, perfume is offered as an ointment. So that's why the mudra is like that. And then there is Nawide, which is a platter of food. This is the mudra. This is representative of a platter of food. And Shabda, of course, the Vajra and bell, which is the ringing of the bells. And if it's without the Vajra and bell, you'll be doing this, the mudra. This is actually the playing of the drums with 2 drumsticks. The following are actually the offering of the 7 royal emblems. And this can be offered on your altar in physical form as well. And this is the actual mantras and prayers to offer it up. These are the 7 emblems of rulership of a universal monarch, and in this case, a fully enlightened Buddha, in the case of Dorje Shugden. So the first mantra, which is Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begon Rudra Benza Kula Sapare Maha Sapta Ratna Patizai Soha. So what you do is, there is no mudra for it, but you visualize it on your hands and you offering it up. And you can also combine it with the Dakini mudra as before. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begon Rudra Benza Kula Sapare Andra Padrabe Mangala Patizai Soha. And you close it with the calling back of the Dakinis. Okay, the next one will be Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begon Rudra Benza Kula Sapara Andram Mangala Patizai Soha. And finally, the inner offering. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begon Rudra Benza Kula Sapare Maha Benza Amrita Kaka Kahi Kahi. For Tantrikas, you'll be offering your inner offering here. But for other practitioners, you just recite. In the next section would be the prayer of the 7 limbs. This is the complete prayer to praise Dorje Shugden in all 7 ways, which is prostration and so forth. After the 7 limb prayer is a special confession to Dorje Shugden. Here, with the recitation, what you do is you have to apply the 4 opponent powers. You must have regret, you must take refuge in Dorje Shugden, and you must think of this as a remedial action to purify your negative karma, and you must have the thought of not wanting to repeat this again, or whatever negative actions you have done in the past. And even if you have not done, you have no negative actions in mind, you have to think that you have many lifetimes prior to this, and all the negative karma that you've accumulated throughout many, many lifetimes, you can think of the negative karma right now, and you can request Dorje Shugden, based on your faith in Dorje Shugden and your refuge in him, to please purify them and prevent any of these negative karma from coming to fruition. So you recite the prayers and you recite the Vajrasattva mantra with this contemplation in mind. You only recite this 21 times. It's a 100-syllable Vajrasattva mantra. After the special confession will be the recitation of the praise to the 5 lineages of Dorje Shugden. And you must understand that there is a lot of praises, there is a lot of invocation, because we want to accumulate as much merits as possible, and this is done according to tradition. In this prayer, you are actually doing a praise. You'll be praising the qualities of each of the emanations of Dorje Shugden. And in that way, you create this huge, strong bond with Dorje Shugden for him to come to your aid. And you come to this section called Clearing Obstacles, or in Tibetan it's called Kawang or Kangshak. And remember, on the altar, there's the raffle sensory offerings that's offered. And this is where you'll be offering that up during this recitation. In brief, Kangsha is a purification practice. And this is where you visualize your negative karma in the form of a body chopped up and offered up in the raffle sensory offerings, in the form of that row of raffle sensory offerings. This is done only as visualization to invoke upon the purification energies of Dorje Shugden. Okay, during this recitation, what you can do is you can ring your bell staccato like before, your vajra and bell, you can be holding it, and you ring staccato. And at the end of the recitation of the kawang, you ring as per normal, as a final offering. The kawang kangshak prayer can be recited 3 times, 7 times, 21 times. It is up to you. But the focus of this retreat would be preferably on the mantra itself. After the kawang kangshak purification prayer would be the recitation of Dorje's mantra. And this is where you recite Dorje's mantra as many times as possible. So during a retreat, during each session, you could be reciting 10 malas, 20 malas, 30 malas, depending on your timing and upon how you feel, because sometimes it can be too long. But for a new person, about 10 to 15 malas would be comfortable. And during the recitation, you can take a break. You can put down your mala on the table and take a break, like a toilet break, or to take a quick walk around to stretch your limbs. But preferably do not take it too long, maybe around 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes the most, so that you do not break the rhythm of your retreat. Okay, during this time, you do your visualizations of Dorje Shugden, doing your mantra recitation. And after the recitation of the mantras, there's a bowl of rice. What you do is you blow your mantras into the bowl of rice to consecrate the rice. Okay? There's 2 mantras here. The main mantra, Om Benza Wiki Bitana Soha, that's to Dorje. And then there is an entourage mantra, which is Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Bensa Kula Sawa Shatru Maraya Hum Pet, which is done 21 times after the recitation of the first. So your retreat will be focusing on the main mantra, which is Om Benza Wiki Bitana Soha. The entourage mantra is not the focus of your retreat. After the mantra recitation, you'll be offering the thomas. And there's a short prayer for each, and you recite the prayer, and then you recite the mantra. During the mantra recitation, you lift both hands like this. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Bensa Kula Saparivara Sawa Bignan Shatrum Idam Balingta Kaka Kahi Kahi. You snap your fingers at each recitation and Kaka Kahi Kahi. Okay, you recite that 3 times. This is where you actually offer the thoma to Dorje Shugden. Next, you'll be offering the thomas to the retinues, the entourage of Dorje Shugden. Same thing again, the mudra.
Om Akaramukam Sawadhamanam Aryanupana Wada Nama Sawadadagata Alugite Sambara Sambara Hum.
Same thing, you will snap your fingers at the end of the recitation of the mantra, and you recite it 3 times. Finally, this is the offering of sensory offerings to Dorje Shugden once again to create the merits. You can use your vajra and bell. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Bensa Kula Sapar Agam Padyam Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nivide Shabda Patisai Soha. After that will be the inner offering, which is Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Bensa Kula Saparivara Om Ahum. This is just recited. Next would be the special request to Dorje Shugden, and you recite this as another prayer to Dorje Shugden to request him. So what happens is this prayer, you are making your request, and during this time, this special request, you will be thinking about the offering, and you'll be thinking about your special requests. In the case of, let's say if you're going through difficulties, you think of the problems and you request Dorje Shugden. And you can even visualize yourself tugging at his robes in a request. This is just visualization, and this is a way to request Dorje Shugden to please fulfill your wishes. Okay, there's a mantra with this. Om Dhammapala Maharanza Benza Begawan Rudra Benza Kula Sapariwara Drage Amuka Maraya Pet. At the syllable pad, you clap your hands. This is to dispel obstacles. What happens is you visualize the obstacles dispersed by the sound of your clap. Because sound, an offering of sound is also an offering of emptiness. And emptiness is a method or a way to realize the nature of reality, and also a way to dispel or overcome obstacles. Next will be the Toma offering once again, and this time is also to request Dorje Shugden to please fulfill your wishes once again. So it is a prayer of requests. And during this time, you also you think about your aspirations and your problem at hand, your obstacle, or if you don't have, you visualize that your problems and obstacles for the year or your negative karma being purified. At this juncture, you'll be requesting uncommon protection from Dorje Shugden. At this point, you recite this, requesting Dorje Shugden to grant you protection. So during this time, you have to think also of your problems and obstacles. You also have to think that Dorje Shugden will grant you it. So it's a requesting of that. It's not that Dorje Shugden does not have compassion to grant you protection, but this is to create the karma for you to receive his protection. So the prayer is composed to evoke that and invoke to purify your karma and invoke the merits of Dorje Shugden for you to receive his protection. Finally, you come to the Tsem, which is the offering of the golden drink. This is uniquely of all Dharma protective practice where you offer Tsem in your vessel, and it will be good if you can offer it during the recitation itself and not just on the altar. The vessel is usually a smaller, shorter vessel with a taller one in the middle. So when you pour, it pours from the top and it all flows to the bottom. But if you do not want the beverage of your offering to overspill or splash around, so you offer on the top and then you offer on the bottom separately. It's up to you. This one you will need your Vajra and bell. So you have your Vajra and bell in your hands and then you recite. Each stanza, you will be offering the beverage into the Tsem, and then you ring the bell on the third line and the fourth line. So I repeat, you'll be ringing the bell on the third line and the fourth line continuously while you're offering the beverage. It will take a little bit of coordination. So you just have to watch. If you're unfamiliar, you can just offer first on the altar, but preferably you offer it as you recite. That would be the best. During the Tsem offering, there are some stanzas which is offering to, in this case, Dorje Shugden. You'll be reciting 3 times, 7 times or more, or 21 times or more. So you can just repeat it. This is to Dorje Shugden, to Satrap, Kachemapo. These are usually the ones that you offer more. After the offering of Tsem, you'll be reciting optional prayers depending on your timing. There are prayers that are composed by His Holiness Kapche Trijang Dorje Chang, His Holiness the 5th Dalai Lama, and His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. These are prayers composed by these great masters based upon their attainments and also upon their visions of Dorje Shugden. So the words are imbued with their power and what they have observed. Finally, you come to the last part of your retreat session, which is the farewell Toma offering to Dorje Shugden. This is where you'll be offering the farewell Toma as thanksgiving to Dorje Shugden for having descended to the retreat and listened to our requests, prayers, and our offerings, and have accepted our offerings. So this is a final offering to Dorje Shugden before the retreat session concludes. Okay, so you make the requests or the prayer or the recitation. At the end of the prayer or the recitation, what you do is you take the farewell Toma and an incense stick. And if it's nighttime or in the evening, you light the incense stick and you stick it into the torma and you bring it out, just the same way as the landowner offering. But this is to be done at the end of every session. Finally, you come to the dissolution of your retreat, where you request Dorje to remain in the image or into the area and into the tanka, statues, or whatever images that you have of Dorje Shugden at your retreat. So this is a very good time where you can actually consecrate images. So if you have a lot of Dorje Shugden images, this is a good time to have it on your altar or on your retreat table. So this is where you actually request Dorje to dissolve into that image. And then you recite the prayer itself. After the little prayer, you recite the mantra Om Supratishta Benzaye Soha Om Benzamu. This is where you do the same mudra that you did before, a ruwa, which is your hands, your right hand like a mirror, flat like a mirror, and your left hand like the stem of the mirror. So this is to request all other deities that are worldly in the surrounding area to please return to their abodes. Finally, we come to the dedicational prayers at the end of the retreat session. The retreat dedications are meant to dedicate and seal the merits that you have made during the retreat session. The mantras and the offerings that you made all have collected merits, and hence to seal those actions, to make it meritorious, is the actual intention of the dedication. So you recite that to seal that merits. At the end of the day, what happens is you clear all the water offerings and you clear the biscuits in the bowl, not in a jar, but in the bowl for the next day. And the next day, what happens is you make new, fresh water offerings, fresh biscuits in a bowl. And at the end of each session, you do not need to clear all the water offerings. You just add 1 or 2 drops into each bowl. But the biscuits you need to change, okay, for each session, because you'll be offering it up again. At the very last session of your retreat, at the end of your retreat, you'll be reciting the Lama Chirpa together with the prayer for the virtuous beginning, middle, and end by Lama Tsongkhapa, and the King of Prayers, together with your dedicational prayers, to seal the merits for the entire retreat. With that, I've come to the end of my presentation of this explanation of engaging in a Dorje Shugden retreat. I hope my explanations have inspired you to engage in your own personal retreats so that you gain the blessings of Dorje Shugden, Manjushri, and also all the lineage lamas through Dorje Shugden, in order to purify your negative karma and to fulfill all your wishes, spiritual and material wishes. Thank you.